تبسم 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 تبسم.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All praise is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the cherisher and nourisher and sustainer of the world. And durood and salams to our noble leader Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his illustrious noble family and his illustrious companions, the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, up to the day of reckoning. May I request each and every one of us to recite at least 3 durood on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it's a day of Juma and you know what the blessings of Juma are. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Now in this gathering, if we are 2,000 people here, and if we each one recited 4 durood, it's 8,000 durood on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. The gist of the surah is that verily indeed man is a forgetful creature. We forget very quickly. I'll remind you why I'm saying this when I proceed in my lecture. Members of the Board of Trustees of Ameermia College, Honorable Imam, Jamaatul Muslimin, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, wherever you may be, may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with you and your families, and may He protect you and your families for generations to come, inshallah. So many thanks for inviting me today here to share this Jummah platform with you in celebrating 20 years of freedom and democracy in our land. And as we do so, I ask myself some critical, introspective and reflective questions. What does 20 years of freedom and democracy mean to all of us in South Africa today? And I do so for the following reasons. In our midst here, since the first non-racial democratic elections in 1994, we have another generation of young, vibrant and energetic youth who were born after 1994, whom we refer to as the born-free generation, whose rights to exercise their democratic right to vote is not only guaranteed in the Constitution as an inalienable birth of right, but they are a generation that were born in a society where equal human rights and freedoms are both constitutionally and institutionally protected, guaranteed and entrenched in the Constitution. Our youth, the born-free generations, will inshallah, together with those of us who are eligible to vote, will experience for the first time in their lives, like you experienced in 1994, and cherish that experience, the right to vote in the national and provincial elections on the 7th of May 2014, inshallah. But they will do it this time in an environment that is free and fair, with no fear, harassment and intimidation. They will participate in this coming election without any personal painful experience of the apartheid past. A past that was not only horrendous, but it was so atrocious that it was an affront to not only our dignity, but it was an affront against the dignity of our common humanity, to such an extent that the world order declared apartheid to be a crime against an international crime against humanity. This is a painful past that we are referring to, and it started way back in 1652 here, and it ended on the 27th of April 1994. Jamaatul Muslimin, it is to this born-free generation who will be our future leaders inshallah, that we need to encourage to engage in a process of reflection to develop a vision for a better future. We need to encourage them together with ourselves to exercise our hard-fought democratic right to vote responsibly, because the choices we make will definitely shape the future political landscape and destiny of our country. We need a responsible citizenry to protect and advance our ideals that we entrench in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We must realize and appreciate what we have achieved since 1994. We have emerged from the shackles of oppression and made a peaceful transition to a full constitutional democracy with an entrenched Bill of Rights. And by so doing, we laid the basis of a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, united and prosperous South Africa. A South African society based on human dignity, freedom, equality, justice, and respect for the rule of law, with an independent judiciary that dispenses with justice without fear, favor, or prejudice. Jamaatul Muslimin, as we celebrate the 20 years of freedom and democracy today, we need to understand this historical milestone to be an opportunity for all of us to take stock of the progress we have achieved thus far. One, we have put together one of the most progressive constitutions in the modern world that not only entrenched the Bill of Rights, but spelled out clearly that justiciability of socio-economic rights is not only the cornerstone of democracy, but also the cornerstone of our basic right to dignity as part of a holistic freedom. A freedom that allows for freedom of association and the freedom of religion. Jamaatul Muslimin, let us realize that all these rights are constitutionally guaranteed and protected and entrenched. Jamaatul Muslimin, this is a clear example of a rich legacy which we demonstrated to the world by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that by working together as a collective, we have grown to respect that fact, that through the richness of our diversity, as a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, single and unified society, we have the ability to achieve the ideals that we set for ourselves in the Constitution. It is our Constitution. We have demonstrated that whilst we can celebrate our achievements thus far in a short period of 20 years, we also recognize our shortcomings in addressing the socio-economic imbalances and backlogs, such as poverty, crime, unemployment, homelessness, and the inequalities prevalent in society between the rich and the poor, the destitute, the vulnerable, the aged, and the elderly. Now, through the National Development Plan, in a document called the NDP Vision 2030, we have set for ourselves a target to address those socio-economic imbalances and thereby create opportunities for all South Africans. Furthermore, as part of our critical reflection today, we have also realized that we are all to fight corruption, as it is not only cancerous, it will, if not arrested timelessly, it will destroy the very fabric of our democratic ideals. It will destroy the very fabric of our democratic ideals. Poor service delivery on the ground also impacts on good governance and the political leadership to take accountability. It is precisely for this reason that our commitment to advance the socio-economic rights of the weak, the vulnerable, the marginalized, disabled and elderly, our pledge as South Africans to improve the quality of life for all South Africans as guaranteed in the Constitution, and it is for this reason that structures such as the Chapter 9 institutions were established by Parliament, by the Constitution. I'm talking about the Public Protector. I'm talking about the South African Human Rights Commission. I'm talking about the Auditor General. I'm talking about the Commission for Gender Equality. I'm talking about the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities. I'm talking about the Independent Electoral Commission and the Independent SAVC that was constitutionally established to promote, protect, and advance all our rights without fear, favor, or prejudice, and our accountability for our mandate must be checked in line with our Constitution. The South African Human Rights Commission, together with the establishment of the other Chapter 9 bodies, were established to support, strengthen, fight, and guard the rights of all of us in our hard-fought freedoms. And we as commissioners are constitutionally empowered to promote, protect, and advance these cherished freedoms without fear, favor, or prejudice. As we all realize that these are new challenges that will be facing us, which, if not addressed, will have far-reaching negative and unintended consequences. I am confident that working together as a collective, we will find lasting solutions and sustainable solutions, so that this time around we can with confidence say to our future generations down the line that when we reflected on the freedoms and democratic ideals of 21 March 2014 today, right, and noting the supreme sacrifice of those who paid so dearly with their lives, not only on the 21st of March 1960, when the Sharpeville massacre took place and 69 innocent civilians who peacefully protested against the Dompas, were brutally shot dead by the police. Jamaatul Muslimin, Sharpeville Day is indeed Freedom Day in its true sense, in that the atrocities that followed Sharpeville, which we had committed Democrats who laid down their lives and who paid the supreme sacrifice for our cherished freedoms today, we salute them. We salute them and their families for our newfound freedoms, not in any order of preference, but recognizing their commitment to social justice. Jamaatul Muslimin, I dedicate this lecture to all of them and to Imam Abdullah Harun, whose selflessness and commitment to social transformation has given us reason to understand that we must never allow our freedoms to be tampered with, because it will spell disaster. Earlier on, I recited the ayat wal asri innal insana lafi khusr, and I said man is in a state of forgetfulness, and it always needs to be constantly reminded. Allah Himself says that to us. Now, why I'm saying that? I mentioned earlier on the successes that we had, but recently, what happened? You all know about Marikana. Miners asked for better living wage. What was the response? Police brutality. Can we allow this in today's day and age? No, we can't. Okay? We go to Motlunong in Brits. People are asking for water. Instead of the councillors going to address the issues, what do? They put the police, and police shoot people dead. Is that right? These are reflections that we need to understand and ask ourselves all the time. We must therefore engage the process and say that can it be right that after learning the painful lessons of Sharpeville, we can go to Marikana? Have we not learned from Sharpeville? So we need to recommit and pledge that we must never let it happen again. We witnessed now recently in February 2014, a child goes to school, a 6-year-old child, okay? There's no water and sanitation in the school. The child falls down in a pit latrine and dies. It's atrocious. It's not acceptable. You know why it's not acceptable? Because the government of the day has resources. And when they don't spend those resources, and those resources become rollovers, as you hear in the TV from the Auditor General, then it is a crime against humanity. Then those of them who are our elected leaders must do the honorable thing they need to ask themselves whether they're worthy of serving the communities that entrusted their lives to them. In conclusion, Jamaatul Muslimin, the Board of Trustees and our esteemed ulama, many thanks for inviting me to the Islamia College today to share a very important and significant Jummah platform. We have indeed come a long way, but the road ahead is equally challenging. I request you all to make dua for me and my fellow commissioners that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the courage of serving the cause of social justice in line with the oath of office that we took, and that all of us here today will go back to our environment and rededicate ourselves to transforming society, a society that is based on dignity, by securing our rights. Because without transforming society, there can be no rights. Without rights, there can be no development. And without development, there can be no dignity and social justice. My Sheikh of the Tariqat, Sheikh Hazim Abu Ghazala, on many occasions came to Cape Town, and many of you have engaged with him. And he made a very profound statement. And he said, Cape Town is a city of barakah and blessings. Because you have in your midst struggle stalwarts like Sheikh Yusuf from Makassar and many others that are buried in the peninsula, whose du'as today are protecting you. So we ask you to spread that barakah to the rest of the land and to the rest of the world, inshallah. In conclusion, as our late president of the First Democratic Order, an international icon, none other than the late Mr. Nelson Mandela, in his inaugural speech said, "We succeeded to take our last steps to freedom in conditions of relative peace. We commit ourselves to the construction of a complete, just and lasting peace. We have triumphed in the effort to implant hope in the breast of millions of our people. We enter into a covenant that we shall build a society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall without any fear in their hearts, assured of their inalienable rights to human dignity. A rainbow nation at peace with itself and the world. And when we are at peace with yourself, you will spread the peace to the rest of the world, to the African continent and to the rest of the world." To me, this is what freedom and democracy means and should mean. So when we reflect on Shafie, and when we reflect on June the 16th, and Women's Day on August the 9th, and International Human Rights Days, please reflect that these were hard-fought freedoms. Some of us had to pay the supreme price, and may Allah be their reward. Others, like Comrade JB here and his family, live to tell the tale in the poem that you heard today. I thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
تبسم تبسم وخل الهموم وخل الغموم وخل الضجر